Cadets, welcome to Dawn Patrol! Good morning, Sky Cadets! Welcome to Dawn Patrol! Time to rise and shine like me! Strap in for fun! Let's go! Your captain's got the controls! Woohoo! Good morning, Sky Cadets! Welcome to Dawn Patrol! Time to rise and shine like me! Strap in for fun! Let's go! Your captain.
Morning. All right. That was my goofy cartoon intro. And I'm messing this all up. And I'm hearing echoes at first. It was all messed up. Anyway, good morning. Yeah, I saw Scott got in the comments. That was cool. I already pinned the link. That way I don't have to be entertaining solo if anybody wants to jump in. But I know that people have work today and all that. So no pressure. I thought this was a cool, I guess, entry point to the TLC. For a while, we've been doing this morning thing, and it's been very cool and fun. And so it's been kind of an enjoyable experience in the morning where everybody kind of does a thing, and and Ethan and Chris have really set the stage for consistency in the morning. So that's been awesome. We've had Scott, of course, like he sees that Ethan's not running, boom, he jumps on, and that's been enjoyable. So we figured if we could try to maybe solidify some consistency in some of these slots, and maybe it'll be a more regular thing that people can look forward to. So, but I am glad Scott's in the studio. We were talking last night a little bit about this stuff, and I was interested in talking about the morning wave, as it was said. I think Grim Grizz brought it up first, that he thinks that's the wave that we may be in, because it's a new group of people. And that's kind of what I was kind of hinting at in my description. I was talking about the flux and how it refers to constant flow, change, and movement. It's like the flowing stream and the tidal flux in the estuary. And it also correlates to what Cassandra was talking about with the name breakwater, which I thought was really cool. I'm not super quick with bringing up clips and sharing them yet, but I would have. Well, you can't really clip anymore through YouTube, so that's a little bit more difficult of a thing. I'd have to go through OBS, but I'm not going to do all that. I'm not that proficient. But anyway, I thought it would be kind of cool to kind of talk about this iteration a little bit, and just what it means. I know a lot of guys seem to be very super philosophical and very deep thinkers in this little corner. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not to that level. I just don't. I understand what they're saying completely. And I was interested in a lot of Jordan Peterson, and I dabbled with a little Vervaeke, but for me, it's like it's not just a steep climb. It's a interest in the way that they come at some of these things. And so that's why I always used to give certain people that had channels a hard time. It's like, just say what you mean, like I don't understand why I have to go through a maze to understand where you're trying to get to. And it has been helpful watching some of these people, coming on other channels and talking about their perspectives in a more one-on-one basis. So that's been had a lot more clarity to it. So I think that's been pretty cool. Just listening some of them, it's crazy because I can see the value of people talking out their thoughts and them, wrestling with. It's funny because Jordan Peterson's "We Wrestle with God" book was, for me, wasn't that great. And I think Paul Vanderklay had said the same thing, that it was probably not his best work, but I feel like almost we're doing a better job at wrestling with God here. And some of these guys in this little corner are asking some really good questions in a more productive way. So anyway, that's kind of my entry monologue. It's not long. I just thought that it would be cool to talk about where we are, what we're doing, and why we're doing it. So I know for me, it's fun. I love talking with people. I'm more entertaining with people than I am with myself. And I know some people are more entertaining by themselves, or maybe they're more entertaining for themselves. I don't know. What do you think, Scott?
I think all that's probably a little true. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little weird, to be honest. Kind of thinking. I mean, I wanna play my role well, but like what it is and
Woohoo!
yeah, I don't know. It's I know it's something. It's and it seems good. It's got a sweet tenor to it. But I don't know where it's gonna go. Like I try to have direction and I try to kind of, but to be honest, I had no idea what I was gonna do when I started this thing. This morning I had an idea, and I don't know if it'll step on you at all, but I was kind of thinking about the word Christology and kind of breaking it down a little bit and seeing what the different ideas behind it were. Because in some sense, isn't that the foundation for what I'm doing? But to your point about the consistency, I think it's been a benefit to everybody to have Chris every morning, kind of doing his thing and how we're playing around it. It's and the fact that it kind of started through a tragic situation kind of seems like the pattern, like Ethan jumped on, and who else? Somebody else jumped on when Chris was in his hiatus.
Well, the morning's new for me. I didn't even remember. I mean, I knew Chris had stuff, but before that, when Chris was hospitalized, I didn't know there was anything going on, to be honest. And that was probably because I didn't have all of the channels locked in, and I still don't have them all, locked in to notify me when somebody's going to go live. You know what I mean? That was probably the reason for that.
Yeah, Chris had already become a part of my mornings, on my days off. It was, I think I'd been watching him for a month. I think I got it from, it was mentioned in a conversation somebody had, that they said that I was probably Ethan, and maybe one of his talks. I don't think it was a rando, but he said that Chris Howard was in the morning every morning. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. That's when my brain's fresh, kind of jump on. And then I think it, again, was Ethan and Chad that kind of stepped in after PBK. Uh, which I was thinking, I kind of miss Chad. Chad hasn't popped up as much in the morning lately.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, plus there's a
Yeah.
little bit of general perspective, and I use the term general with a capital G. That he is very anti streaming while driving, and so I get that, and I definitely don't want to. I like the fact that he has a conviction about that. I don't know. I think that people are different. People can throw the thing on and not care about what they look like and not care about all the details of what's going on the screen or reading the comments. So I think it's to each his own, but his rule is hard, and he's not going to even talk to you if you're driving. So and again, I'm not criticizing that. I kind of admire that he has that, thing. But yeah, I mean, especially as we're moving forward with like self-driving cars and things. I mean, at some point, everybody's going to be streaming on their ride to work or jumping in on their ride to work. And some people do already have cars that are assisting them in levels. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think that's cool. But Chad he's one of the guys that jumps on, and he explains it respectfully as to, this is just his time. But some people I think can be distracted, and I don't think anybody wants to be responsible for any issues while they're driving. That would be heartbreaking. So but yeah,
it would.
Chad will I'm sure if he has time and it's not too crazy, he would pop in. But I also think people have some ebbs and flows here. I think one of the cool things about the TLC is like Job, he randomly was in the comments, and he hasn't been in the TLC, actually active participant in the TLC for a long time, and then he'll be on Paul's channel, and and it was like great to see him, like he was one of my favorite randos, actually is my favorite rando. And the whole story, his whole timeline. So I think everybody has their seasons where if they have to pull away or they feel like this is taking up too much of their regular life and they're neglecting family or they're neglecting relationships. That's not what this space is about, to my understanding. It's about helping you navigate all that stuff, it seems to me. Like we were talking last night on your channel. I mean, us having a conversation of a random book I read, and it's like you're like, oh, that's interesting, and then someone in the comments was like, that's really good stuff, and it's like, that's cool, that you can have a conversation like that, and who knows, maybe it impacted their physical relationship with the significant other in a very positive way, and I think that's just a small snippet of the value of this place and space.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I mean, that's been my experience with it. I think I've said a few times that through the years, it's what I do. Hang out for a little bit, listen, hear the conversations, try to apply them, disappear for a little bit, come back. Yeah, that's been my MO as well, and it's been fruitful. I'm super grateful. It's probably one of my biggest fears about being over here now on this side of the screen is, and I've mentioned this before too, I just don't want to sully anything. Yeah, but that in itself is good, I think, because it'll help me keep my guard up and keep my armor on. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. I was thinking about, like, how when you start a new job and, it's almost like that old saying, keep your mouth shut and let everybody think you're smart, then to open your mouth and remove all doubt.
Yeah. Chinese proverb, I believe.
Yeah. It might even be in Proverbs legitimately. But it's so funny. It's so funny because you are taking a risk because you might have some really good insight on a lot of things, but you also, you're exposing your weaknesses as well. I think I froze on YouTube, but I'm looking on StreamYard and it looks good, so whatever. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you
have
look
to
good
get
on this end too.
all right. Well, that you're looking through StreamYard anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah, I see it. It looks blurry through YouTube. I don't know. That's a little weird. I think it might be just my connection, but anyway, but yeah, I think that's super cool. I mean, you take a risk and like Cassie was saying that this is a dangerous place. You know, it's a brave space. And by, stepping out of the lurk, and breaking the fourth wall and showing up on screens, even if it isn't starting a channel, you're really putting yourself out there. You're exposing yourself to other people, which is why a lot of people didn't even want to engage people in real life, is because it's like, I don't want to deal with the ickiness of other people, you know, and their character defects. And then they see my character defects and how I respond to their character defects or whatever it may be,
Well, I mean, I for a long time have thought that that's the whole purpose of this life and this experience is to be relational and to be relational with other imperfect beings and finding ways to work it out and sharing both joys and sorrows imperfectly. So, does this bring a bit more of a risk? Yes, but I think that's the purpose of this. I mean, when I think about individuals at the end of their kind of life and how the important things that they look back on before it happens is almost always built around relation. So I think it's a new era with this digital thing, but I think this is where it's at. I really do.
Everybody talks about you're in your little bubble, you're in your sphere. I think that's what's so powerful about this particular tool is you're increasing your sphere. Like if we just stuck to our physical relationships that we encounter on a daily basis, people that we work with, people at home, people in our neighborhood, neighbors, friends that we associate with on the reg, those are all valuable, but it's like they say though also, and this is what one of my fears was in coming into this place. I've always had this awareness of that, that saying, you're like the 6 people you spend the most time with, you ultimately become like them. You might wear the hats they're wearing, the haircuts they're wearing. I mean, that's the physical stuff, but even the emotional stuff, you start sympathizing with perspectives that maybe aren't necessarily healthy, but it's just because of proximity. You're really, it's weird the way we are, maybe that's just me and I'm, projecting that on other people. But what's cool about this place is it increases the numbers of people that you can choose to engage with, and you're in that sphere becomes more nuanced and more broader than just a narrow spectrum of a bunch of people that I work with, because I spend all day long with them, so, I think that has its value, but it's all about the relationship building. It's like doing this, developing great relationships with tons of people from all over the country / world, right? And like Teo in the UK, and I mean, just we can go down the list of people that are from all over the place, and and the ones that you can tell are genuine, like that's what's so different about this. Like they talk about the fact that you're talking to your TV, like this is the new TV, it's not like somebody curates this preset agenda / whatever on your television, whether it's news or whether it's a TV show. And, but this is like not a para relationship, in my opinion. They call it parasocial, I think is what it was called, right?
Yeah, do you know the definition of that? Because I don't quite understand that phrase.
Oh, I can give an example and then I'll read the definition. So
Okay.
let me first, what's the definition of parasocial relationship? All right, so the example that I want to give before I read this was, how when you're watching, you listen to a radio show or you're watching television and you watch something that is reality or whatever it is, but you get into a set rhythm with this person and you watch their show every day and you think Ellen DeGeneres, or you think I'm trying to think of another talk show host, like Oprah Winfrey. Like I know who that person really is, but it's like this false relationship that's only one-sided. You've never met them, and even if you had met those people, you still may come off with an idea that you have this relationship, right? So this is the definition. Parasocial relationship refers to a one-sided connection where an individual develops a strong sense of intimacy, friendship, or emotional attachment to a public figure or fictional character who does not know they exist. See, that's the difference with this space. Now, you, Scott, could come on and have a particular way of framing yourself, and you could, in theory, be the world's super actor and create this really good character. And there may be some people in the TLC that have really cultivated their online persona to a fake degree. I just see this as I'm no different than when I walk outside and I'm talking to somebody. I'm not going to be every disgusting part that I am capable of, like something that, a wife would see or a family member would see, because they know how, nasty you can get at times, moody, on certain topics, or, disengagement. Like here, it's you're going to be hospitable, or, you hope you are. And if you're not a hospitable person and you're like some of the people that have kind of flown into the corner and flown out of the corner, that have been very nasty, the way that they interact with people, I believe those people are the same way in public, to an average person. So, it's not quite like saying hi, how you doing, fine, and walking on. This is a back and forth, and seeing someone's personality is just it's just different when you're having a conversation with them. Especially about important things,
Okay. That's interesting. A couple things came to mind. Number one, I haven't actually met anybody in real life from this space. And maybe that's why I think I would be very nervous to meet even you, whom I would say I spent the most time chatting with. Like one of the things that surprises everybody is like the actual physical, like, shape and or size of an individual when they meet them for the first time. It just blows their. I'm thinking about that commercial where the pink dust comes out of their head because it explodes. But also, I will say, especially amongst the talk recently, that I don't think we've landed on the appropriate name for it yet, but what's been floating around is hygiene. I do, after a month of doing this, because of what I've learned and because of the goals that I have with the thing, I have felt the spirit move me to do certain things, like wear a collar most of the times that I'm on a screen and not engage in an activity or two while I'm on the screen. So I'm putting up like a filter. And the reason why I feel like I'm being led to do that is in part because I'm trying to represent how, with my channel at least, how the spirit's moving me. And because I'm carrying with me that representation, I need to have some reverence. So there are going to be things that I do in real life that I maybe won't present here. Is that a good move or not? I don't know. Does it bring in a bit of disingenuousness? I don't know. Maybe a touch. So, with that being said, when I meet somebody for the first time at one of these events, then there's a degree of nervousness there that I'm not sure how I would handle. I think if I had to think it through, that because of what you're talking about with the individuals that I've met and had conversations with, I think it would go well. But that initial breakthrough, that point, yeah, there's going to be a sense of trepidation.
Yeah, I get that. It's almost like when everybody always says they meet PVK for the first time, they're like, man, he's really tall, you know, because he's like
Yep.
6'4", 6'5". So like that's like something unexpected in the physical interaction, meeting somebody the first time, right? Or man, I didn't know. I'm just kidding, making something up. I didn't know their nose was that long, or I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. Like you had this image of how this person is, but at the end, I mean, when we're really talking about though is you have these interactions with people, and it's like you know what I'm thinking back to. Remember pen pals?
Remember pen pals?
Yeah. Did you ever have a pen pal?
No, never did. I
So
heard horrible stories about people doing that with people in jail.
well, that was an iteration, but that's how powerful those relationships can be, right? Now, clearly there can be there can be somebody that's just a manipulator and they're only putting in a letter the things they want, that clearly. But there would be people that literally would write back and forth letters that they would send to someone, and it was like this constant correspondence back and forth. Now, the jail thing is clearly like the nightmare version of the value of pen pals, but people would have pen pals, and that was how they communicated back in the day before cell phones. Cell phones are so easy to get a hold of people. You can text someone. Matter of fact, we had to realize, like, it's like internet hygiene. You almost have to not send that text and give yourself a little bit of time before you send a text if there's emotional baggage behind it. You know what I mean?
I do.
Which is like a proper way to, see. It's like I've had like a family member send me a text and I want to fire back like my first gut response. And sometimes I'll even write it in the text bubble, shut the phone down, come back in an hour, look at it and think, is this going to be beneficial at all? But with the pen pal thing, you took thought, you took time to write the letter by hand, and you developed these relationships. And then when they'd see each other, they'd finally plot to interact physically. It's like long lost brothers, or sisters, or lovers,
Mm.
right? So
You know,
because
you
they
know,
shared such intimate details about their life and had such intimate conversations that it was so impactful. You know what I mean? But I do agree with you about foolish transparency. Like there's certain things that they just, I mean, or whatever, it's like they don't, and not everybody doesn't need to know everything about your life anyway.
no, agreed. Two things there. First, in the IRL, you don't have the buffer zone. You don't have the chance to think about the thought bubble, right? So there's like a barrier there where you can curate yourself, right? And in the real life, if the emotions get high enough, oftentimes you're going to say the thing that first pops into your head. And is that a truer self, right? Even a long form conversation, even 3 hours talking to Joe Rogan, which I think was the pivot during like the elections. They said it was like the podcast elections. If you've done it enough, you could probably still fake it, right? By offering some genuineness. But if you've had a whole entire career of learning how to say things without saying things, you know what I mean? You could probably still fake a 3-hour conversation. And it's in part because there's going to be a break. You only got to hold on for so long, right? So I do think there's that. But then the other thing that popped into my head was when you were talking about the pen pals was You've Got Mail.
Mm-hmm.
That was essentially that. And that story worked out. But it doesn't take a whole lot of imagination to see how that story could have gone horrifically wrong, So to the point of the hygiene, I think there's at least enough there to where caution is probably not just warranted, but wise.
So there's what, 3 different things we're talking about. Foolish transparency, for those that haven't been enough in the corner or whatever. It's when you're putting personal stuff out there foolishly. And again, there's people that almost pride themselves in being so transparent. But there's just stuff that isn't necessary, right? If anything, it's just going to mar the perspective that you're seen through. And it's not that you're trying to be fake, but you're just not trying to dominate somebody's psyche on how they see you regularly, right? I'd rather them get to know me as a person, and if I share something with them intimately about myself or whatever, they may have a better perspective and a more hospitable perspective to a blip in my past, or the internet hygiene, which is, in my opinion, I think it's more like, well, it's almost like a little bit of a subcategory of the foolish transparency part, right? I think internet hygiene also plays into like when we're sharing our screens on here, and in the top corner, it's got your personal address or whatever, or, like somebody's watching things you're searching and they can kind of triangulate where you are, where you work, all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's another one. It's internet hospitality. What's the one Luke had said? Not hygiene, internet. It's almost like when you're online and somebody's got a lot of background noise and they're not muting their mic, and it's distracting to the entire group of people,
Yeah, he was talking about that from the perspective of hosting a thing as
Yeah.
opposed to, just being a participant, and how that comes with different responsibilities
Mhm.
and weighing the difference between, being courteous to the individual or being courteous to the group. I don't know what word he used for that, but that was my sense of it.
Yeah. And I mean, there's truth to that. That's why I love doing Celebrate Recovery. I think it was such a value to know how to facilitate a group. It made it real easy for somebody to do an estuary. Now, I've never done a formal estuary, and maybe someday I will, but I haven't had enough people in my sphere that have really clamored on and wanted to get together from a group standpoint and pitch ideas. But I love the protocol. But the whole idea in Celebrate Recovery, I think also, who was it? Was it Cassandra? Somebody said that this is like a online AA for the meaning crisis. And that sounded really cool. And I liked it. It is a really pretty way to frame it. The only difference is if you've been in AA or if you facilitated groups or you've led groups in AA, the fundamental difference is there is no crosstalk. Like you have people, once that happens, the leader, whoever's running that group, that's their responsibility to say, speak with I statements, speak from your perspective. Don't say you should do this and we need to do this. Like there's a that was internet hospitality. That was Luke's thing. So
Okay.
there's this being hospitable to other people and not trying to, because when you say you and we, you can get defensive. Somebody's just sitting there, they shared their feelings, and now somebody's telling them what they should be doing.
Yeah.
And it becomes contentious. Well, this space, there's just an open, hospitable crosstalk. It's like that's what makes this a thing. So there's something that's almost like this is better because enough people have understood the importance of relationships. They've at least, most of them have matured to the point where you're going to let the person talk on the screen and stop interrupting them or talking over them, right? You give them a chance to get what they want to say off their chest, or their opinion about something, and keep your mouth shut. Now when you're hosting and you get so many people and their ideas are just coming out, and I think sometimes they're afraid they're going to miss they're going to forget their idea because things are moving so fast. There does get to be a point where you're like, I got to get this out, So, you got to manage character defects and people's personality quirks. I think that's probably a big thing, but being able to facilitate, I think that's a very valuable tool.
Agreed. It's something that I don't know if it's, well, look, you can take this all the way to PBK. This is how PBK engages in all of his conversations. Every single one of his randos, he says maybe a whole paragraph worth of words, and they're all directed back to whomever he's speaking to. And I think the spirit of that style of like genuine, let me hear what you have to say, is really maybe one of the foundations of this space. And we've all learned to do that. I was thinking when you were saying that, how well Ezra's movie night went, even though it got up to 10 boxes. You watch anything like that on cable TV, and it's an absolute barn fire. I was going to say something different, but, see, that was me curating myself a little bit. But it's an absolute disaster. Like, I can't keep up. It almost always drives me insane. Like, can we hear one complete thought in this conversation? Which I'll use the we statement because I was there. We were able to do that, and it turned into, it was amazing for me because I got to see other perspectives and actually gain an improved sense of the experience that I went through that initially wasn't. Like, the experience for me got baptized, and it became something new because I gave we all did this. We gave everybody the opportunity to give their perspectives, and now you get to see the thing more fully. And, you know, who knows if that's what the actors or what the writers or directors intended. But despite that, that's another interesting point. You could actually take something that was intended for improperness and turn it into something proper. That's kind of like my kind of life story and pulling wisdom out of the gutters, you know, of where I've been in my life. It's so yeah, no, I'm right on with what you're pointing to there. That's very good.
Yeah, I like how, and that stream was pretty spectacular because you did have a lot of pretty good, you know, TLC veterans, you know, including you. You know, it's not like you've been around, you've watched enough of this for a long time where it doesn't matter what side of the screen you were on. And so you kind of learned what the best way to engage this group. But yeah, when you add that many people, it definitely sets the the difficulty scale. What do the video gamers say? The difficulty level.
Yeah, it was hard mode.
Yeah. So
All
yeah.
right, Brett, I gotta run, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you making the space.
Yeah, it's
Good
cool.
luck with it.
I appreciate you coming on. That way we only have about 12 minutes for Chris, so it works out perfect.
All right. Thanks, man. Have a good morning.
Dude. You too. All right. Well, that was awesome. I really enjoyed that conversation. I love talking to Scott. Scott's awesome. He's kind of like we kind of both went. He's been popping on. I should have asked him when he broke the fourth wall, but he came on screen some people's channels, I think, before I did. And the first person I jumped on with was Luke. That was so funny, his reaction. I think he regrets it now, but I definitely enjoyed participating in the thing in a more direct manner, you know, and not be in the comments, because I definitely was way more bold in the comments in my thoughts. It's kind of like we were talking about saving a text before you send it. But this space doesn't really allow you to sit on things so long because the conversation in the hive mind, it moves so fast, especially when streams are real popular and so many people are logging on. So that tends to be a more difficult thing. But, you know, you do start to file down those rough edges of your personality and learn how to engage people in a more hospitable way. So, you know, I think that is one of the most valuable. The other thing I was thinking about when Scott was talking is PBK's interview randos. I would watch these randos and I'm like, I got to learn how to be able to talk with somebody like that, because I do want to convey what I think. It isn't necessarily to colonize their mind or their thoughts, but I want them to know exactly where I'm coming from in my perspective and how my mind's working in a particular dialogue. So when I am talking to somebody, I don't mean it to be that way, but historically, I'm acutely aware, even if that isn't what my intent is, I come off like a know-it-all, and that's not how I feel about something. I don't think I know it all. I'm just, you know, letting somebody know my experience and where I came from and what I learned, and you know, they can do whatever they want with it. I don't expect them to. I'm not trying to convince them of anything. you know, um, and like when we're talking about the spiritual stuff, I'm sharing with you what I believe to be truth. And if the Holy Spirit tugs on your heartstrings and has you move into a different direction from where you already are, then wonderful. But it's nothing I'm doing, nothing I can do. I'm not the one converting anybody if somebody is getting converted, or I'm not the one that's changing I guess like people say, is it planting a seed? Of course. But watching PBK and how he interviews people, it's fascinating because he definitely engages them, and he finds a way to identify with whatever that they're bringing up in conversation instead of saying, really, that's not really a great way of looking at things. Like he doesn't go into the pastoral correction. I mean, I'm sure he may have slipped into it, but it's probably because it was asked for by whoever he was talking to. So, but it was something that I looked up to, the way he engaged people, and it wasn't about him converting them or him changing their opinion on something. He just genuinely wanted to know about the person, and he wanted to know how they became who they are, and how they got where they are in life. And so I think that those things are a really uh, special way of engaging somebody. And so employing that as I interact with people to get to know the person instead of look for every little thing they're saying that I can change their opinion on. So, um, there's times, obviously, I think that somebody definitely is, on the wrong track. And I feel like, oh man, like, do I really want to walk away from this conversation without them knowing at least what I think about it? Well, might not be up to you. Um, I forget whether it was probably Christian Recovery, when you were kind of looking for accountability partners and that sort of thing. It's like if somebody gives you permission to talk into their life, I think that's a little different. And to a certain degree, I think that there is probably an assumption with certain people over time when you get to know them that that's an automatic. You don't even have to have that formal conversation. Hey, if I notice something, or if you notice something about me, are we cool that we can just tell each other, like, this is where I think you're getting it wrong, man. I'm worried about you right now. Um, you're kind of talking to this girl a little too much, like, how do you say that to your friend if you're thinking it? And I don't know, like, do you just let it go? Do you just let things ride and play out? I feel like if you love them, you're going to want to at least engage them on it. And there's obviously a way to go about it. Like, hey man, if your wife saw this, would she be cool with it? And like something like that, it's kind of like the Imago Deo, in the image of God. It's like everything I'm doing, everything I'm thinking, I have to remember that in the light of eternity, I mean, God knows everything, my thoughts, my actions when no one's looking. And that should change the way I react and interact with people. And I think that that's also true with relationships and people we care about. This is an isolated portion of some people's lives to their significant others, for instance. And the fullest transparency kind of comes back into that. It's like, are you emotionally cheating on your significant other by divulging things about your relationship with the world, with people that you're developing a parasocial relationship with, or whatever? But I think this is a little deeper than that. So maybe there needs to be more conversation about that, and whether or not you have to give permission for somebody to talk into your life or not. I think maybe it's assumed by other people. So anyway, what are we, 6:26? Chris Howard here is in about 4 minutes, so I'm going to wrap up with that. I don't think I appreciate what you guys watching this. I think it was awesome. I enjoyed it, and maybe I'll make a couple shorts of it if there was anything good. But I hope it was beneficial, and at least some of the guys in the TLC that have been here a lot longer, maybe they can kind of see maybe the newer group, the morning crew, whatever, the morning waves perspective on where they're at in this process, since they've been here longer, and maybe they can see some value in what we're bringing to the table. It's not so heavy. It's not so, Jordan Peterson and Vervaeke talk, but just general relationship building and talking things out, and, whatever they're thinking, So that was pretty important, I think, something that I started seeing that I wanted to do, and I was hoping it would be of value to the morning group. So hopefully they'll bring me into that group. Scott's been very diligent, and Chris Howard's been the steady fast. And of course, Ethan is just awesome. His artistic flair in the morning is so entertaining, and I just have a good time with all of those guys. So anyway, with that, I'm going to shut the stream down. I don't have any great ending branding yet. So I don't know, maybe some of my friends can give me some ideas on what they think I should do. But I definitely need to kind of start doing something like that. Come up with some like music or exit music or whatever, something more consistent. So I think my intro videos might change. I don't know. We'll have to see how that works. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. And I think Ethan's on the next. So he'll be tomorrow, same time, 5:30 to 6:30. So that way I'll pick up the morning show then. But until then, Chris Howard will be up next. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.